morning, friends. I am actually by myself this morning, which is super rare at my house. I'm going to buy groceries today and hang out with my mom a little bit, get my nails done. But I figured this was a good time, since I was alone, to do a little car story time. So recently in mine and Charlie's life, God has just really blessed us immensely. Like, he has just really shown out in our lives lately in so many ways, and I just feel like he deserves all the honor and glory and praise for everything he's done in our life here recently. And I feel like I wouldn't be doing the right thing if I didn't share a little bit about who we really are at our core, and who I am at my core, and how I got to where I am now. I'm going to give the short version, because if I gave the long version, it would take days to tell you everything. But obviously, Charlie and I are both Christians. We both believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross to save us from our sins, born of the Virgin Mary, and that he died for every single person to find him, to know him, to have close relationship with him, to accept him into their heart, and to believe that he died on that cross to save them from their sins and rose again 3 days later. And we both share a very close personal relationship with Jesus. With that being said, if you ever have any questions or just want somebody to talk to about it, please feel free to message us. Please feel free to send out a message or comment or reach out. We would love to talk to you about Jesus. And if we don't have the answers, we'll figure them out for you. We'll do it together. We'll figure it out together. Because I'm going to be honest with you. Just because we're Christians does not mean we have it all figured out. That also does not mean I know every single thing about the Bible. I have to consult more mature Christians. In a lot of ways, I'm still very young in my faith. In the past 2 years, I have grown majorly in my faith in the past 2 years and in my relationship with Christ. Last year, I read through the entire Bible, which changed everything for me. If you are a Christian who has not read the Bible, I'm just going to say I encourage you strongly to read the Bible. I'm going to be honest with you. After reading the Bible, I would say you cannot fully say, and this is from coming from a Christian who was a Christian before I read the whole Bible, you cannot say that you fully know God and his character until you've read his word. I grew up with parents who stayed married. They're still married. I didn't grow up in a divorced home or anything like that. I have a brother who is 7 years older than me. So in a lot of ways, I grew up as an only child in a lot of ways because he was so much older than me. There was a few years there that we spent together in the house, where he was still at home a lot and stuff like that. But as he became a teen and then eventually went off to college, he moved out and no longer lived there. Preteens, or that age in your life, is very significant. You're going through a lot of change. You're going through puberty. You're trying to figure out who you are. You're trying to figure out who's your true friends. You're trying to navigate social settings in school. It's hard. It's just a weird time in your life. And that time in my life is marked by a lot of distraction and a lot of chaos and a lot of trauma. A lot of my childhood has trauma in it, to be honest with you. And you wouldn't know that. I don't think you would anyways, talking to me now as an adult, because I've overcome that with God. I spent a lot of my childhood into my teenage years making bad choices. I made a lot of bad choices as a teenager. I lived an extremely sinful life in my teenage years. And all I can tell you is I was an extreme liar. I was drinking alcohol. I was smoking cigarettes. I was partying, doing stuff with boys I had no business doing. I made really bad choices. I had a best friend, one of my best friends in high school, and And I was going to church at this time. Let me say this. I grew up in church, in a Baptist church. I grew up in a Baptist church. So just because your kids growing up in church don't mean they're, exempt from life and the world and the devil and demons. I'm just going to be honest with you. Don't mean your kid's not going to make bad choices. Don't be naive. Anyways, I made lots of bad choices, and I had a best friend in high school who was also in church, grew up in church, and she was making bad choices with me, but I could tell, our senior year, I could tell that she was beginning to be, I couldn't at the time tell this. I know this now that I'm where I am and looking back on it. I could tell she was beginning to feel convicted about some of the choices we were making and some of the things that we were doing. Because she would find reasons, and I knew she was lying. She would find reasons to get out of doing things with me. She would start finding excuses out of doing things with me or getting into shenanigans with me that we had no business getting into. And I knew at that point that she was starting to feel convicted about some stuff. But we were still best friends. Everything was fine, but she just was feeling very convicted. She wasn't judging me. She just wanted out. She wanted out of the bad choices. God was working on her heart. They were doing some stuff in her church, and God was working on her. Fast forward, we roomed together in college. We were in a dorm together. And I got to college, and I was so wild as a teenager. Most kids get to college and they go wild. I got to college and I started to settle down. I got into a leadership team at my college and was in recruitment and tours, and I needed to be on my best behavior. In a lot of ways for me, I didn't go to college in my hometown. This was a fresh start for me in so many ways. It's close to me graduating high school. I had been in some extreme trauma in my own home. I don't want to go into detail about it, so I'm not going to. But I got to college. I got on this leadership team. I got invited to go to the BSU, which is the Baptist Student Union, where they do student gatherings and they preach and all that good stuff. And I started going to BSU. Several people that were on this leadership team with me also were going there. Well, I grew up in a teeny tiny country church and had never really truly seen people my age praising God and living truly for God. I'm talking about truly living for God. So at this time, I went to the BSU and I started hanging out with good people. People who made, let me not say good people. Let me say people that made good choices. Better choices than what I was making. So got involved at the BSU and started seeing people my age who looked like me, who were like me, praising and worshiping God and living their lives for God. Making choices not to drink in college, just doing the right thing. And I was like, wow, if they have that kind of confidence in who they are and they're strong enough to make those kind of choices, I can do it too. And God really started working on my heart in a mighty way. I'm finally back. After a day of grocery shopping, I look a little bit different. It's pouring down raining outside, so it went from being a sunny day to a rainy day real quick. So now that I am back in my car, ready to head home, I can finish story time. Okay, so where was I? Last time when I got off of here, I was telling y'all that I got saved at a youth rally in Ripley in 2013, September 2013. Jesus Christ saved my soul at a youth rally in Ripley, Mississippi. Before this happened, I didn't know about this, but my friend I was telling you guys about, sometime after I got saved at the youth rally, she had later told me that Wednesday night at church, I think it was that week that I got saved. I think it was a Thursday or Friday night that I got saved. And the Wednesday night she had went to church, and they did an activity where whatever was burdening them or on their heart, they wrote it on a little piece of paper, folded it up, and nailed it to a cross, a big wooden cross they had in their church. And it gives me chills every time I tell this story because it's just awesome. She wrote my name on this little sheet of paper and nailed it to the cross that Wednesday night. Man, thank God for friends and people and family who will pray for you and go to God on your behalf. That's irreplaceable. The best thing somebody can do for you is get on their hands and knees before God. And so I tell people a lot that that God chased after me after that. I mean, he was chasing after me before that for sure, even in my teenage years. But when she was praying for me and she was bold enough to nail and cared enough to nail my name to a cross, that's awesome. I'm so thankful for her. I will never be able to repay her for what she did for me. My life completely changed after that night. Who I was completely changed after that night. Now, I'm not saying I didn't backslide and make major mistakes after that in college, but I was remarkably different in my life before and after that. Even though I backslid, even though I made mistakes and I made bad choices at times after I was saved, there was a remarkable difference in my life and in the person I was before and after that night that I got saved. And anytime I would make those bad choices in college, when I did those few times, I always felt extremely convicted about it and really had to go before the Lord about that conviction. That is the Spark Notes version of my story. I love God. I'm not perfect. I mess up every single day. I'm no more worthy of His grace than you are. Believe me. I don't care what you've done. I'm no more worthy than you. I'm still a low down, no good sinner who does not deserve the grace of God or the mercy of Jesus. But, in all caps, God sees fit to give me mercy and grace and change my life. Thank God for the cross. Thank God for Jesus. Thank God that He loves us more than anybody or anything could ever love us. And thank God that His blood and His grace is greater than anything that could ever come after you. If you don't know Jesus, you need to know Jesus. I love you guys. I pray that if you don't know Him, you will know Him. And if you ever have any questions, know that I love you no matter what you've done, no matter what choices you've made. You were made and created in the image of God, and He loves you. And you were made for a purpose and something great. You are a child of God, and He loves you more than you could ever imagine. Be blessed, y'all.